Morning, Sonder fam. Welcome to our Saturday morning weekly setup. I had to think about what day it was for a second. My name is Bailey Grady, for those of you who may not know. And I will be your facilitator today. Do we have anybody that maybe this is your first social or first weekly setup? If so, just drop us a like, hey, that's me, in the chat so we can give you a warm welcome. But also just to kind of give a recap for everybody. So what this will look like today is we're going to do a couple of opening activities together, reflect on last week, and then we will get set up and ready for our week ahead. We're going to be sharing some tips and tricks up on the screen, but we also are going to be sharing with one another in the chat. One of the best parts about getting to come to socials here and in real time is that you get to really spend time together and kind of be in community with one another. So make sure that you have your chat set to everyone, where you type in that little chat box. A lot of the times it will default to host and panelist. And if it does that, not everybody will be able to see what you're sharing. And we want you to be able to share with one another because, again, I think that's really the best part about being able to come to socials in person is you get that like community time and interaction with the Sonder fam, and all of you are so amazing and awesome. And yeah, it's always just like a really nice space and time together. So make sure that your chat is set to everyone so that you can share. Don't be afraid to like take pictures and stuff as we go through of what you see on screen, but also um, of what you're setting up in your journals, because we would love to see those examples and maybe feature them at a later time. No pictures of the chat, though. We do want to respect everyone's privacy, but anything that's up on screen that I am sharing, please feel free to snap a photo. And I see lots of returning friends here, so welcome back, everyone. It's always so good to see you. Of course, I can't actually see you and see your faces. It's cameras off for everybody but me, so you don't have to worry about if you're muted or if your camera's on or what's going on in the background or anything like that. But I have gotten very like familiar with some of your names in the chat, and it feels like I'm getting to see you, if that makes sense. So we will go over those community guidelines real quick before we get started. So number one, be kind and courteous to yourself and to others. Number two, no promotions or spam, please. Number three, again, we are going to respect everyone's privacy here. What happens in a Sonder Social chat stays in a Sonder Social chat. No hate speech or bullying, please. That should be a given, but just in case it needs to be said. And then if you'll limit repetitive product and accessory questions, we don't mind some chatter around like stickers and favorite pens and things like that. We just want to make sure that you're also getting to use this time for your setup because it always goes by so fast. And then if there's anything that myself and the amazing Katie, who is here with us all the way from Scotland, if there's anything she or I cannot assist with, we will direct you over to the customer care team at hello@silkandsunder.com, and they will help with anything we can't help with because we don't have access to everything. And then finally, Sonder Socials are a tool to help elevate your emotional health through the power of community. But you are responsible for your own emotions, well-being, and decisions, which basically just means participate at your own comfort. If at any point in time you're like, you know what, I am not feeling the chat today, I just want to spend time, me, myself, and I in my journal, that's totally fine. If something comes up and it starts bringing out what I like to call the crunchy feelings, right? Baby sit with that for a second. Sometimes crunchy can be a good thing. It can add depth. It can like enhance experience and allow us to grow. But sometimes crunchy feelings feel like you've stepped on a Lego with your bare foot. And if it is feeling more like a Lego situation, then you do not have to engage with that today. You can always come back to another time or whenever you're ready, whenever that might be. Feel free to turn the volume up, turn the volume down. Don't listen to me, listen to music. Don't listen to music. This is your time. So whatever you need from this hour of time that we have together today, we want you to feel comfortable spending that time on you, even if that means you maybe need to take a break. So we will do our joy mind map activity. So the mind map is something we do in our weekly setups only, and we will have a different prompt around our theme for the month that we get to kind of explore together in the weekly setup each week. That will not be pre-printed in the journal. It'll be on a blank page or space. Then we'll do our rosebud thorn exercise to reflect on the week prior before we move into the week ahead. And then we will get into our main event, our weekly setup. So, as you all know by now, this month's theme is joy. And yeah, it's a really great theme. And it's not just a great theme because like, oh, joy, what a happy feeling and whatever else, but it's a really great theme because joy is a really big feeling. It's like one of the major categories of feelings when we talk about like that big six of like, joy, love, surprise, fear, anger, sadness. Like it has its own slice in the feelings wheel. And in some ways, that can be exciting because all of these different little words kind of like connect to joy. And so it does have that depth to it, but it also can be a little bit intimidating. And I think that, especially once we get into adulthood and we start setting like goals and things for ourselves, whether that looks like things in the household, if it looks like something in your career, if it looks like building community, if it looks like building goals with yourself and self growth, like no matter what the case may be, sometimes we can get into like a little bit of like a tunnel or like a spiral. And a lot of the times those things have negative connotations. But in this case, I think it's really more of like a hyper focus, right? You're really trying to focus on those goals or those things that you want in life, and you're like trying to check off the boxes to get it done. But when we do that, sometimes we forget to schedule in time for joy and time for ourselves, not just to rest, but also to rest, recharge, and then replenish ourselves with something that really like fills up our cup and makes us happy. And it's so important that we try to find time to do that. And that can look different for each of us. Like maybe you're in a position to carve out time for yourself daily. Obviously, that would be great. That's ideal. But sometimes life is just busy and it's hectic, and maybe you can get it in once a week, maybe it's once a quarter. But as long as you're being intentional about it, if you get like one day a quarter, what to do whatever you want, something that makes just you happy, what does that look like? And if you're not getting that right now, is that something you can carve out? What would make it most beneficial to you, right? To make that really hopefully be a huge replenishment day for you. So I think that I really appreciate the invitation to reflect on joy as a theme because it does allow us to be a little bit more intentional with it and to try to really notice it and see not just where it shows up in life and to like express that gratitude, because gratitude and joy sit so closely next to one another. But to also notice maybe where there's a little bit of a void and maybe where we could work to try to really give back to ourselves and make sure that we're getting that because we all deserve that and to have that and to have that feeling. And I really love these poems that are in the journal this month as well, because I think that they really speak to like the broader definition of joy and why it is such a big piece of that feelings wheel. So if you haven't read them yet, they're up on the screen, but also they are in the pages of your journal. Feel free to flip over to them and take a look, and maybe they will resonate with you the way that they've resonated with me. But with that said, we're going to reflect on joy in a specific way this week with our mind map activity. So go ahead and flip to a blank space or page in your journal so that we can kind of reflect on this prompt. This week, we are thinking about joy and learning. So what the prompt says here is, what excites you about learning and personal growth? How can you incorporate more joyful learning experiences into your life? So there's a couple of quotes up on the screen as always. You all know I love my quotes. But then I have my own mind map up there. So I really enjoy learning new things. I think something that I have figured out about myself, maybe just in the last couple of months, because we did have knowledge as a theme like 3 or 4 months ago as well, is learning isn't just something I enjoy, it actually energizes me. Like when I learn something new, even if it's maybe not something I would think that I even have an interest in, I get kind of excited about it, and I get excited to kind of like share what I've learned with other people and be like, well, hey, did you know? Did you hear? Isn't this interesting? Like, if it's something that can help other people too, like if I feel like, oh, I learned this thing and oh, I should tell so and so because they're like dealing with that or whatever, like I get really excited to share it with them. So I really do enjoy learning new things. I also especially enjoy learning about myself. And I hope that all of you do too. I think that's definitely a theme here with us at Silk and Sonder, right? Like we're all on whatever journey we're on. But you're always going to have yourself along for the ride, like no matter what it looks like, right? And so the more you get to know yourself, the better and more fulfilling that journey is. So I like to learn about myself and my brain, my emotions, the things that like fill me back up and fill up my cup. And something else that I have learned is I really enjoy learning by listening to other people. I like to listen to people talk about their experiences, to talk about things that they're experts in, that they're passionate about. And so, because of that, one of my favorite ways to learn things is by like listening to podcasts. And many of you know that I have a new commute now to work. I have shared that I went from having like a 10-minute commute to like a 35 to 45-minute commute. And so obviously, there are some downsides to that. But one upside is that I do finally have time to listen to my podcast again. And I've really enjoyed it. And I'm actually finding that when I get home after being in the car, I have kind of like an excess of energy that I have not had in the last several years, which is really strange. Or, well, it feels strange, I should say, because energy is something I've been struggling with for the last couple of years. And I was talking to my husband about this the other day, but I think getting time to myself in the car to just like listen to podcasts is somehow like recharging my little introvert battery in a way that I did not expect. I went to the gym 2 days last week and I have not gone to the gym in over a year. I'm like, I don't know what's happening to me. I feel like a totally new person. I don't know if it's just because it's new, because last week was the first week of this. Um, but I'm excited to see if it's like new and going to continue because energy is something that I've kind of been struggling with for a while. And it turns out maybe my brain was just bored and just wanted some time with just me in the car and podcasts. So I'm looking forward to leaning into that and embracing it and using that opportunity to see if I can continue to learn things. And, I've got to commute either way. So I might as well make the most of it. So, with all of that said, I will flip back and forth between these slides for you all. Please share with us what is coming up for you if you feel comfortable, and then we will move into our next activity together. Thank you all for taking a few moments to think about this prompt. I'm glad to know I'm not alone in like my podcast obsession and taking that commute time for myself. I saw a lot of you too, like also sharing that, like me, you really enjoy learning through hearing other people's stories. I think storytelling is something that is really core to who we are as humans. And in a lot of ways, we don't have the opportunity to share in the same ways that we used to, just because our communities have gotten so like broad and spread apart in some ways. And that's one benefit of like technology and living in the technological age, is that even though we are so far away from some of our like connections, we can still stay connected through technology. But it doesn't always lend itself well to that like storytelling moment. And so it's kind of nice to be able to throw on a podcast or an audio book and kind of recreate that thing that I think is so central to who we've been for eons and eons. We've always learned really well from one another. So thank you all so much for sharing. We are now going to do our rosebud thorn activity. So thinking about the last 7 days and kind of reflecting on what's going on and what's happened before we charge into the week ahead. So this appears each week in the journal. This week's is on page 424, but you can really do a rosebud thorn at any point in time. It's a great way to kind of just stop and check in and reflect with a little bit of balance. So a rose is what went well, something that maybe that you're grateful for, made you smile. Sometimes a rose is just that the week is over and that you made it through. A bud is an emerging opportunity, something that's on the horizon, an opportunity, something that could bloom. It could be something you're excited about, or maybe something you're a little nervous about, maybe both. Kind of just like an upcoming change is the way I think of it. And then a thorn, something that maybe didn't go so well, a challenge, something maybe you could use a little bit of support on. So I love to do these in reverse. So my thorn for last week is just that I was a little more sleepy last week and a little maybe more grouchy, especially in the morning. I decided to kind of like switch up my schedule with work because of the new commute to try to avoid like traffic. And I have surprised myself with how well I have done with that and like getting up on time and everything. It's kind of shocking to me. I have never considered myself a morning person, but it went pretty well. But I definitely have been a little more sleepy as I've made the transition, a little more grumpy. So that's my thorn. My bud is that I'm trying a different schedule next week. So I did like the early bird schedule this week. Next week, I'm going to try going in a little bit later so I can kind of see what's going to work better for me. I'm really thankful that during this transition, my job is allowing myself and my team a lot of flexibility to try to figure out what's going to work best for us in this new environment. And then my rose, as many of you know, that my husband got laid off a few months ago. So he finally got his official job offer last week. We have known that it should have been coming for a few weeks now, but we finally got the official paper. So very exciting. It's actually going to end up being a promotion for him. So yeah, one door closes, another one opens. This seems to have worked out really well. And we booked ourselves a little trip to celebrate. So very, very excited. And I think I also shared with you all that I was going to try to start doing like making my own freezer meals to like meal prep and stuff for this like new commute. And I did that and I got to actually try them last week and they're delicious. I am super pumped that they worked out really well. So I will put on some music for you all to think about your rosebuds and thorns. Again, if you feel comfortable sharing, we would love to see those in the chat. This is one of my favorite exercises we do in the weekly setup because I think it's a few moments where we really get to kind of see what's going on in each other's lives. Thank you all for taking a few moments to reflect and for sharing. If you're still typing yours out, feel free to continue to type and share as I move through here. We are going to hop over to our main event, which is our weekly setup. So we're setting up on pages 50, sorry, not 50, 46 and 47 this morning. So these are my 2 pages put together, but we will go through each and every section as always, starting at the top right with this week I want to feel. So as you all know, or most of you know, my word of the year this year is embrace. So all year long, I've been changing this section to this week I want to embrace. And this week I want to embrace more change. Last week I said I wanted to embrace change. So this week it is more change. Um, since I am going to try out that other schedule and kind of just see what's going on. Everything's just sort of in a season of flux right now, but we're just going to roll with it. We're going to figure out what the little bright new moments of happiness are, right? Lean into that joy. I've obviously been surprised about having that commute time to myself and how that's gone. So hopefully more things like that will start to show up. There's lots of other words up on the screen for inspiration. And then as always, we have some really great examples here from Sonder Club. I love these little stickers with the little corgi in the center. They're so cute. So you could do stickers, you can do a single word, you can do multiple words, you can do a quote, you can change it up completely like me and like try to lean into an intention or word of the year. If you set certain intentions for the month this month and you haven't checked in on those in a while, maybe flip back for a moment, see if that invites anything. And as always, if something doesn't come to you right away, that's also okay. Sometimes I fill this in last because until I wrap my head around everything else that's going on for the week, I can't really think about how I want to feel about it. So I'll put on a song for you all and just share with us how you would like to feel going into this week ahead. Okay, again, if you haven't settled on a word yet, that is okay. It will likely come to you. So the next section we're going to move into is just in that center part of that page. So we're looking at our weekly to-dos and major 3 goals. Now I use the personalized coaching platform beta that Silk and Sonder has launched. And one of the things it does is it gives me 3 affirmations each week. And the major weekly 3 goals was a section that I always put something there. But it didn't really hold me. I wasn't really good at holding myself accountable to that space. I should say it that way. It still helped me to get organized and kind of understand what my intentions for the week were, but I was never really like fully executing on those 3 major things. So once I started getting my weekly affirmations from the personalized coaching plan, I started putting those there. And I think that that's worked a lot better for me. So what I've been doing is I still use the to-dos in the little calendar there to keep up with like my appointments and like commitments and things throughout the week. You can see like next week's kind of busy for me. I've got some Sonder socials, which is always fun. Chiropractor, therapy, hair appointments, all kinds of stuff going on. So that keeps me kind of organized. And then the three things over to the right-hand side are like to-dos or intentions that I've tied over to the affirmations. Um, so for example, number 2 for me is I embrace change and trust in my strength, balancing new opportunities with self-care and compassion. So my number 2 intention for the week is to work out in the morning while trying this new schedule, kind of inviting in that self-care that it talks about while embracing the season of change and figuring out how that can work best for me. Um, a lot of folks have been pairing these sections together, which is why I now do them together in my weekly setup, because that way, if you do one first and then the other, you can figure out which one you want to do first. If you're combining them together, then you can do that as well. I really like the example in the bottom left where they have sort of like 3 main categories for their major 3, and then they've got kind of 3 little bingo squares on the left and their to-dos to kind of support that area that they're focusing in on. But you can do this in whatever way it makes the most sense to you. If you have a lot going on next week, lots of to-dos, and you're feeling like that to-do list is like sitting on your shoulders or feeling it sit somewhere in your body, then you may want to take a moment to just use the Eisenhower matrix and try to figure out what of those things is truly urgent, what has to be done this week, what is not urgent and can wait at least another week. And then what's important and what's not important, because we have a tendency, a lot of us have a tendency, I know I do this, to kind of make things that are not our responsibility because it seems like it's important. But if it's really important, somebody should take responsibility for it. It doesn't necessarily mean that that should be you. And if it is truly, truly important, like it will get done, right? And if you're the person that needs to take that responsibility, fine, so be it. But if you can delegate to somebody else or even a future version of yourself, please feel empowered to do so. There's like nothing worse than there's nothing worse than burning yourself out. You know what I mean? Like, and I have done that to myself so many times. So just make sure that you're taking care of yourself and being realistic. Also, when it comes to getting things done, I know I struggle with executive dysfunction, which basically means that it's really hard for me to start tasks. And so doing something like the Pomodoro technique is really helpful, where I can set a timer, agree to do a task for 25 minutes, right? It's just 25 minutes. It's not the end of the world. It's not a ton of time. And then at the end, when the timer goes off, usually by the time I'm like going and rolling, like, oh yeah, I can finish this. I'm good. Like, or it's already done. That happens a lot. I swear my brain thinks that it takes 4 hours to do the dishes and it takes like 8 minutes. So sometimes just like agreeing to do something for a certain amount of time and telling myself that after that timer goes off, I can stop if I don't want to keep going is all I need to get started. So that can be super helpful. You can go traditional with this and just make a normal to-do list. You can do a to-do list, which is where you write things out as you do them rather than, oh my gosh, this is everything I have to get done. You write them down as you get things done. So then you're like, ta-da, look at all the things I got done. You can do a need, want, hope list. Sometimes that's really good to bring in a little bit of balance. And then if you're looking for something less task oriented, you can try a to-be list, thinking about that feeling that you just wrote down of how you want to feel, and maybe there is a certain mindset that you can invite in to support that. As always, we love our bingos here at Silk and Sonder, so feel free to gamify this if you'd like to make your to-do list more of a bingo. If you are celebrating something this week, like my friend Harold's birthday is today, if he was setting up his journal, I would tell him he should do a birthday theme for his bingo and like things to do for his birthday this week. So if you've got something like that going on, maybe lean into that. You can also divide your to-dos into different areas or skip it all together. If at any point in time your journal starts to make you feel stressed or you feel like you're filling in something just to fill it in, skip it. Put a fun quote there, put a sticker there, put a smiley face, an affirmation. This should always feel like your sidekick. It should always feel like it is there as like your co-pilot, making life easier. And just because a section is there does not mean you have to fill it in. When the section is ready for you and you're ready for it, you'll know what to put there. For your major three goals, if you are utilizing that, you can lean into those different areas of focus like we looked at before. You can also think about how you want to feel and think about if there's three major goals you can do to support that feeling. You can list actual goals, commitments, accountability. I like this example where they wrote out their why for each of their three things because research shows us when we write out our whys, we're a lot more likely to stick to our goals. And then again, as always, if you need to change this up, if you need to switch it up, feel free to do so. Not this week, but next week is like the Thanksgiving holiday. If you are somebody that means something for you, whether it's people are coming over to your house or you are having to cook food, or maybe it means that like you're going to be in a social environment with family members, maybe that's exciting, but maybe it drains you a little bit because you're more of an introvert, or maybe it's not exciting because maybe some of those relationships are a little bit more intense. Start thinking about this week, what you need to do to care for yourself, and make sure that you have time for you as you are making space for those like different events and commitments in the coming weeks. So I will cycle through all of these slides and examples for you. Let us know what you're putting down, how you're deciding to use this section, what works for you. You never know, somebody else may be looking for inspiration, and whatever you're doing may be the perfect thing that they needed to see too. So if you feel comfortable sharing, we would love to see it. Thank you all so much for sharing. And I saw that Lynn had mentioned in the chat that, a few years ago, they had to kind of cut out spending some time with family members because there was some really inappropriate behavior from some family members and things. And I just want to say, first of all, Lynn, like, that's really hard to do. And I'm trying not to get emotional because I know how hard it can be to set those boundaries and do those things. But I'm so glad that you did. It's so important to protect your peace and protect the people that you love the most. So we have had to do that as well, over on my side of the family for different reasons, or I guess really it's my husband's side of the family. Um, but it can be really tough. And so if you are like me and like Lynn, where you've had to kind of set those boundaries, the holidays can be extra tough, and it can be hard to kind of navigate what that new normal feels like, even if you know that you're like happier and like you're protecting your peace and things are a lot easier, from like an emotional and mental health standpoint than they used to. Sometimes just the disruption and like tradition and routine can be hard to like navigate and figure out what you want to do next and what that looks like. It also can be really exciting and really freeing. So just don't be afraid to continue to take care of yourself, set those boundaries, prioritize, and make new traditions and reach out to the connections that mean most, that you do have those healthy relationships with. So, all that to say, if that's you, you're not alone, and please just make sure that you are continuing to take care of you. So we are now hopping down to our habit and activity section. So this is another thing that the personalized coaching plan has helped me with. This is another section that I often wrote things in, but I didn't really necessarily utilize them. This section has worked really well for me if I was building routines, like if I was building up like a sleep routine or nighttime routine or something like that. But I usually focus my actual like habits and activities on like the monthly wheel and what I set up there for the month. So this section was kind of always like extra for me. So now I am putting the breath work that I get from my personalized coaching plan in there, which is great for me because with my anxiety, I know that meditating helps. I know that it is transformative to me, but I don't always make the time to do it like I should. But these like breathing exercises are usually pretty quick things that I can do like at my desk while I'm taking a 5-minute break, while I'm on a walk, and putting them here in the journal just puts them front and center where I do not miss them. But I know when Katie was getting started with the journals, she did kind of the opposite from me. She didn't really utilize the monthly side and she focused more on the weekly. So she and I were kind of like yin and yang with how we used our journals in the beginning. So if you're like Katie and using the weekly section for your habits and activities worked better for you or is working better for you, don't change that. Keep doing that. If you're using both, this can be a really good place for you to stretch a goal that's going really well. Like maybe you set a goal that you want to read like 10 pages a day of a book. And if you're like acing that, no problem. Maybe this week, for just this week, for like 4 out of 7 days, you want to try for 20 pages and see if you can stretch that goal a little bit and see how that goes. Likewise, if you have a goal that you're maybe struggling with, maybe you wanted to walk 10,000 steps a day and you're just not hitting it, maybe this week you just want to focus on 5,000 steps a day. Maybe you set that goal a little too high and like you're realizing that and you're starting to feel defeated. So you can kind of use this space to give yourself a little bit more flexibility. You can decide how many times this week you want to do something, or you can just track it as it happens. You can also do a to-don't list, do habits here that you want to avoid. I also really love this example here in the center where it says, be kind to myself, acceptance of myself, get enough sleep, get outside, and then more fresh foods. I almost couldn't read that for a second, but especially like those first two things, I love that focus and making sure that they're checking in. A lot of folks will use this as a place to check in with other pages in the journal too. Like, did you do your gratitude log? Have you done your affirmations? Did you fill out your monthly habit wheel? Did you fill out your mood tracker, right? And kind of making sure that you're getting into those sections that need that attention. But again, you can also change this up into something totally different. You can just put stickers here or something fun, skip it completely, do some sort of a daily check-in, or if there's something specific you need to track just for this week, this can also be a good place to do that. So I'll put on a quick song for you all, and then we'll move into our other sections. All right. We are now going to flip on over to page 47, starting with the section titled Meal Plan. Now, if you use this as intended as like a meal plan or even a meal tracker, that is awesome. It gets repurposed a lot, but it's not because tracking those things or planning for those things is not a good thing. It can be a super great thing. This just takes up a ton of real estate in the journal, and the format of how it's laid out makes it really useful for kind of like an infinite amount of things. So it does get repurposed a lot, but if you're using it for a meal plan or a meal tracker, just know that that is a really beneficial thing to do. For me, I use it for my work meetings. It kind of makes sure that I don't double book myself. Like I've got my personal to-dos and appointments over on the left-hand side. I've got like my work meetings and stuff over on the right-hand side. So that kind of keeps me straight, if you will, with all of my things going on. But I don't work on the weekend, so I usually do one of the journal prompts I get from the Personalizing Coach platform in there. And this week's journal prompt I thought was like really perfect for me. One of them was, so I wrote it a little bit bigger to make it a focus. It says, envision the emotional warmth and comfort you desire for the holiday season. What practical steps can you take to create a supportive and peaceful environment, both physically and mentally? Use this vision to inspire small actions each day. So I want to reflect on that and kind of get some ideas that I can carry into my weekly setup for next week, with that being like the holiday week and everything. So I want to make sure that I don't forget to do that. Here are all kinds of ideas and different ways that you can repurpose this section. Like I said, the format is just laid out so well to where so many things work right here, and it does take up a lot of real estate. So if you're tracking like particular symptoms or anything, I was trying to figure out some acid reflux things at one point, and this was like the perfect space to do that because I could kind of track what I ate, and then I was turning the little water droplets into like fires of how bad like the acid reflux was. So you can do something like that. Chores, schedules, this can be a great place to write affirmations or check in with yourself. I love this. This week I learned, created, loved, remembered, accomplished. Maybe thinking back to our mind map earlier, maybe you can transform this space into something to do with like learning. And then here are some other ideas. I still love the little ghosty. I know it's not technically Halloweeny season anymore, but he's just so cute and happy. I just really like him. He makes me smile. So feel free to put something here that makes you smile. I will toggle between these different slides for inspiration, and then we'll move into our next section. All right, we are hopping on down, or I guess jumping over, I guess I should say, to our mind body health plan and shopping list. These are another section that I've been kind of like combining together in my setups because I've started to see a lot of folks use these for similar things. They might do one thing in the mind body health plan and then kind of do something to support that in the shopping list and vice versa. My shopping list is an actual shopping list because if I don't write it down, I either will forget to buy it or I will think that I will forget to buy it, and so therefore I will impulse buy it. So having a spot where I can just keep a running shopping list helps me a lot. I also keep my running to-dos over here now. I was talking about this in the chat earlier that like I have no intention of doing these things this week. None whatsoever. But if I don't write them down each and every week, I will like literally forget that some of them exist. And then if an opportunity presents itself to do one of these things, I won't get it done because I will forget that I have it as a to-do. So I write them down every week so I know that they're there. It's kind of like a to-do word bank for me, if you will. And then I'm going back to my mind, body, health, like bingo for the week. I tried something different last week and it just didn't work out for me. So I'm going to lean back into that this week and see if that fits again. Here are some other ideas about how you can use this section. If you are actually making a mind, body, health plan, please make sure that you're making time to reset, refresh, rest, and recharge. Rest is an action, and there are actually 7 types of rest. You can see them over on the right-hand side. We need to be intentional about our rest because it's the one action that we have to do in order for us to do anything else. So please make sure that you are carving out time for yourself. Here are some other ideas here. You turn this section into a fun bingo. You can use it as a shopping list like me, but you can do more fun things than I did and turn it into kind of like an art shopping list. I love that. You can do a bingo, weekly reminders. I love the T chart of I feel and I need. So you can put stickers here. Again, whatever you need this section to be for you. If you want to put your washi tape scraps here and make a little fun like art project if you want to do a quote. Anything that this space can be for you that's going to make life easier, please feel free to lean into that. So I'll put on a fun song for you, and then if you can believe it, we will wrap up our time together. It always goes by way too fast. Well, if you can believe it, an hour has come and gone once again. If you feel comfortable sharing what you are currently loving, we would love to see it in the chat. For me, I have that I'm currently loving change. Like surprisingly, my whole routine and everything has been turned upside down last week, and so far I'm actually surprisingly really loving it. So hopefully that continues for me. Ooh, yes, Deanna said cozy weather. I agree. It's nice to have my like sweatshirt on today. So please continue to share with us what you're loving in the chat if you feel comfortable as we close out. As always, we would also love to see pictures of your journal, how you ended up setting it up, if you feel comfortable sharing those in Sonder Club. We are still doing our For a Friend program, and Katie will pop these links and things in the chat, or you can use the QR codes up on the screen. But if you refer somebody to Silk and Sonder, they get $10 off, you get $10 off. And then you can go to socials together. If you're not already an annual subscriber, you might want to consider doing that, and it can save you some monies and stuff, especially coming into the season where we make our wish list and things. Please fill out the feedback survey. Let us know what you think, either with that link with the QR code or what you will receive in your email within 24 hours. Katie will also share the link to the YouTube page in the chat. So the recording of this social and all the other socials will be up within a few days of the events. So if you ever can't make it, have to leave early, anything like that, you can go to the YouTube page and then be able to watch it there. I also will share my playlist in the chat for anybody who needs it. But yeah, without further ado, it has been our sincere pleasure to spend this time with you today, getting set up, being in community with one another. We hope you feel ready for the week ahead. And until next time, be good to each other, and we'll see you all in Sonder Club.
You know what's up. You know it's us, yeah. You wanted it, you went for it, and baby, you know what's up. You wanted it, you went for it, you know it's us, yeah. I'm gonna make it all the way, just watch me. I'm gonna hustle every day. Ooh, I'm making paper like it's origami. I only came to win the game, can't stop me. You wanted it, you went for it, and baby you got it. I wanted it, I went for it, and baby I did it.